Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming from right here in my quaint little studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news, TV and streaming, and all sorts of good stuff. I'm joined in studio today by Ray Ora.
Hey, good morning.
We got Paris Rose here.
Happy Monday.
And Jonathan Voico's not here. Some of you guys may remember that, we haven't done a show in almost a week. Ray got sick and became Typhoid Mary.
Yep.
He became Patient Zero.
I need a shout out to that one guy who walked into the elevator at our hotel at SDCC, and as soon as he walked in, he just did the biggest cough on me. I could feel it, and he didn't even bother to say anything. I mean, it was one of those things I think that just came out where he didn't have enough time to close his mouth or whatever. But I'm blaming him. I'm blaming him for what happened. So
Ray was the first to fall.
Yeah, I was the first,
and then I was already doing pretty rough because my throat was kind of destroyed. But then I got it after that, and Jonathan was like, well, "That's funny, I'm fine." And then the next morning, got a message, "I'm not fine." So Jonathan's still out, but he'll probably be back tomorrow. Anyway, good to have you guys here. Here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to start out by talking about a couple of predetermined topics. And then in the second part of the show, we're going to take your live comments and questions. Now, if you have a thought, theory, opinion, question that you'd like us to address on the show, as long as we deem it appropriate to be addressed on the show, go ahead and use our tip link anytime, 24 hours a day at www.streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. The great thing is, like I said, it's 24/7. So if you're watching this show later in the day when we're not live, but you have a question you'd like addressed, good news. Just use this tip link still, and we'll get around to answering it on the next episode. I want to give you guys a little bit of a heads up, though. While I am tested negative and I'm all good, I still have my cough, and I will probably have my cough now. You guys know how it is with me, probably for a couple of weeks. So please be patient with me, as you probably notice I've got candy in my mouth. Well, it's not candy. It's Hall's lozenges. Helps me fight coughing, and I'm going to have to drink a little bit more than normal. But if you guys will indulge me, that would be great. Also, want to remind you guys, for those of you who may not have heard yet, a couple of weeks ago, we relaunched the John Campea Show newsletter. Now, that is out, and the newest issue went out today. We put up about it in the community tab. And every day I give a bit of an editorial article, then announcements of what's going on the show. And then, I spend hours every day going through all the news feeds and stuff like that, finding stuff for the show. And what I thought would be a good idea is that I also pick out a number of stories that I think are really interesting, a number of editorials that I think that you guys would find interesting that maybe we're not covering on the show. And we put those in the newsletter with links to the full articles, but I also break down the entire article for you in just a couple of paragraphs, and then I give you my own little editorial thought on it. Also, in case you missed it, we remind you about what the video segments were from the show the previous day. It's a lot of fun. Go and subscribe to it today. It's still free for this entire week, and the Monday issue is always going to be free. But go and check it out and let me know what you guys think, and we would love it if you would. By the way, another little quick side note. This happened a couple of days ago, so we're not making it a news story today. Inside Out 2. Past Avengers, the first Marvel Avengers movie, to join the top 10 biggest films of all time. It already became the number 2 biggest animated film of all time, but it is now the number 10. It's joined the top 10 for the biggest movies ever. And I don't know that Deadpool and Wolverine's going to catch it. I don't know that Deadpool and Wolverine's going to catch it. But an amazing feat. Congrats to them. That's awesome. All right, guys. With that stuff all down and out of the way, let's get on to the main reason we're here, shall we? And get to some topics. Paris, what do we got up first?
All right. Well, HBO Max's hit series, The Last of Us, was an insane success for the network, instantly becoming a fan favorite and scoring 24 primetime Emmy nominations and winning 8. Nominations included Best Drama Series, Best Writing, Best Directing, Best Lead Actor and Actress, and many others. Well, as part of HBO's new preview video, they showed off the first footage from the new season, including looks at Catherine O'Hara, Jeffrey Wright, Caitlin Denver, and Isabel Merced. So, John, what do you think of the first footage?
I thought it was great. Now, I want to keep it all in perspective here. It really is just, it's not even a teaser trailer. I mean, there's some good stuff we see in it and all that kind of stuff, but it is short. Yeah. But it's also enough, because while it's short, they still showed us a good amount of stuff. First of all, even before, what was the name of Jeffrey Wright's latest movie that was just out, where he pretends he was
a writer, right?
Yes, where he's a writer. I was just thinking about the name of it, and now I just froze on it. Anyway, I love Jeffrey Wright for a long time, and seeing his first look. By the way, playing the character, American Fiction.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh,
Thank you. Michael Gonzalez was the first in the live chat to put that in. Thank you, Michael. Which Jeffrey Wright was insane in. But I think from what I understand, he's reprising the character that he actually does the voice for in the game, which is incredible. So seeing him in there is awesome. The different looks at the different characters just looks great. We see, of course, Joel's brother returning, and Catherine O'Hara, who, no matter how great her career will be for the rest of her life, I will always think of her from Schitt's Creek. That's all I'll think. That's all I'll think about is Schitt's Creek. The crows have eyes. And only those of you who watch Schitt's Creek will understand that reference. The crows have eyes. Look, when that first season came out, we were still living under, the all video game movies and TV shows suck curse. There have been glimpses of exceptions to that, yes. But in general, we were still under that malaise. And so even though the potential for a Last of Us series looked really big, because I think The Last of Us has the best pure narrative story of any video game ever. So the potential was there. But we've seen thousands of things that had great potential, but never were able to execute. Last of Us Season 1 delivered on a way, in a way that I never thought would be possible for them to do it. And everybody's getting mad at me for saying this, but this is just my own personal preference. Mileage may vary. I enjoyed the show more. I just thought it was incredible. And they made some key changes from the game, and those changes are always great. By the way, 2 big Emmy wins. Storm Reed won the Emmy for Best Guest Appearance in a Series for that incredible episode. And of course, Nick Offerman, which we all knew, right? We all knew that as soon as we saw episode 3 of season 1, that's episode with Nick Offerman, we all knew, just give him that Emmy right now. Just give it to him. And sure enough, he got it. It's fantastic. I was excited to see this new footage. It looks just as intense. And when she says to him, "What did you do?" And he looks at it and says, "I saved her." I mean, it just chills. Absolute chills. Love this show. Love that it's coming back. And I love that we got our first look at it. Question is for you guys. What did you think about the first little glimpse we have of The Last of Us Season 2? Unfortunately, we still got to wait till 2025 for it. But I still like the looks we've been getting. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to our next topic here, shall we? Paris, what do we got up first?
Yeah, so is the Orville a Star Trek tribute or blatant Star Trek ripoff? Whatever the answer, fans love it and have been waiting for years to find out if and when the series will return. Reports are now coming out that series star Scott Grimes told a crowd in Las Vegas that season 4 of the show was happening and that it starts shooting in 2025. So, John, do you think we'll actually get a season 4 of the Orville?
I don't know yet. I wish I could say that the answer was yes, but I'm really not sure. So where this is coming from was that there's a Star Trek convention held every year in Las Vegas. And because the Orville is so like it, they welcome them there. And apparently while doing a show there at this Star Trek convention, Scott Grimes kind of said what's coming up. This comes to us from Cinema Blend, who writes, Scott Grimes recently performed a show at Star Trek Las Vegas where stars of the Orville are often welcome because of the similarities between the two franchises. During his performance, many, like X's, that's Twitter, by the way, tweeted out that the actor made a comment about the status of his sci-fi show. Apparently, Grimes specifically claimed that season 4 will start filming in 2025. Take a look at their posts. So the audience says, Scott Grimes just put out that the Orville will start shooting a new season after New Year's sometimes, and so on and so forth. So, first of all, here's my general feelings about the Orville. The Orville started off as a Star Trek spoof, right? It was a comedy. At least that's what it was pitched as. And as a Star Trek spoof, they were able to get away with blatantly ripping off Star Trek. I mean, that's what the Orville is. It's a blatant Star Trek wannabe show. That's what it is. But it was a spoof, so it was satire. And as a satire, the Orville was kind of hit and miss for me. Overall, I liked it. I'm a big Seth MacFarlane fan, so overall I liked it, but it was a little bit of hit and miss and stuff like that. Well, what started to happen with the show as the season and then into seasons progressed, Seth MacFarlane wasn't satisfied with just doing a Star Trek spoof show. He wanted to do a Star Trek show. And the Orville, as time passed, less and less was a spoof show anymore. And it started to become a little bit more dramatic. Still has comedy, yes, but they reeled back on the comedy and the spoofness of it, and they tried to make it more and more like a real Star Trek show, to the point that it became indistinguishable from a Star Trek show. And by the way, I actually think the show got better as it went along. I thought season 3 was really quite good. I mean, I don't think it was one of the greatest things on TV, but I thought season 3 was really quite good. But it really is a Star Trek ripoff. There's no denying it now. I like the fact that one of our viewers just said in the live chat, where did they say it? Oh, I lost it now. But somebody in the live chat just said, I like to see it as there it is. One of our viewers, right? To my mind, the Orville is a love letter to Star Trek. Okay, fair enough, but that is just another way of saying blatant ripoff. Yeah. Even though I like the show, and for the record, I want to see season 4. But I don't know. It's been a couple of years since season 3. Seth MacFarlane has been saying for a long time now that they're still working on it, and they're still working on it, and they're still working on it, but nothing tangible. And quite frankly, one of maybe the 4th, 5th, or 6th actor on the call sheet. And don't get me wrong, I think Scott Grimes is a great actor. I really like him in the show. He's one of my favorite characters, actually. But saying that, oh, we're going to start shooting in 2025, that sounds like just something to make the audience cheer. Like, I don't know that. I could be wrong. Yeah. But it sounds just like something he's saying to make the audience cheer. So do I think we're going to get an Orville season 4? From right now, I think it's a complete coin toss. I would like to get it. I would like to get a season 4. But look at all the stuff that Seth MacFarlane does. Family Guy is still going. Yeah. He's got his TED TV series, which season 1 was a big hit, and they're working on season 2. By the way, Scott Grimes is in the TED TV series as well. He's got other animated projects as well, and going to do another season of The Orville that he both has to produce, direct, help write, and star in. I know. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I'm just saying I'm going to call it a coin toss for now as to whether or not it does. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? One of the actors from The Orville is saying we're going to start shooting season 4 in 2025, which is interesting because there's been no confirmation that there's going to be a season 4. Do you buy it? Do you think maybe the audience just heard what they wanted to hear? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, Let's move on to this, shall we? Paris, what do we got up next?
Yeah. All right. So last night, the season 2 finale of House of the Dragon hit HBO and Max. John, I know you've been loving the show. So what do you think of the season finale? And what do you think of the season now that it's over?
Whoo! I'll tell you what, and get this out of the way first. I loved the season. I loved the season. I didn't love everything about the season, but I loved the season overall. And I'm still not sure where I put it in relation to season 1. Like, I'm not sure if I liked it a little bit less than season 1, if I liked it a little bit more than season 1, if I liked it about the same. I'm going to need some time to marinate on that and think about that. But for me, and I'm going to warn you guys right now, we are going to be getting into some spoilers. Okay? For those of you guys watching, we are going to be getting into spoilers for last night's season finale. I'm giving you a heads up on that. If you don't want to hear anything about the spoilers, mute your machines right now until you see us move on to the next topic. So I'm just giving you a heads up, okay? Gave you a bit of a heads up. All right. So this episode, there's a couple things I want to address here. And I put out a post on this on my Instagram earlier. By the way, my Instagram is @JohnCampea, right there. Go follow me there. I put this out on my Instagram earlier this morning. There are some things that still baffle me about some people who watch Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon. The first thing is this. I am still staggered by the number of people who don't realize that House of the Dragon is not an action-adventure show. House of the Dragon has always been, as Game of Thrones has always been, a drama series.
Oh, yeah.
It's a drama series. It's not an action-adventure series. So I want to pull my hair out sometimes when, and then I end up looking like my dad, but I want to pull my hair out sometimes when I see people commenting and not talking about the pros or cons of the episode or the strength or weaknesses of the narrative and the story and the characters and the dialogue. It drives me a little bit crazy when I turn on after one of the episodes and go, there weren't any fights. Do you guys remember the first 4 seasons of Game of Thrones? I mean, in 8 seasons, there were like 5 marquee action sequences, but that's besides the point. So it does frustrate me a little bit. I was frustrated a bit this morning watching some of the dialogue amongst some fan groups about the show. There weren't any battles. It's like, this isn't an action. This is a drama show, and the drama was great. So there was that aspect of it. The other thing that drives me crazy, I hear a lot of people talking about, and I understand this. I do get this point. A lot of people wanting like a big, they're looking forward to the big battles now. The Battle of the Gulf, right, is coming. Like, people are excited about that, and that's good that they're excited about it, and it's coming. And it reminds me a lot, though, when I hear people decrying, where's that battle that it reminds me a lot of the first number of seasons of Game of Thrones. When the war cry from everybody is, where are the dragons?
Yeah.
Anybody remember that?
Yeah.
Like, they even did an entire South Park episode about that, right?
Yep.
Where the kids literally traveled to George R.R. Martin's house to say, where the hell are the dragons? At some point, we're going to get dragons, right?
And not only that, in that episode, he promised them pizza. And they had a diabetic kid with them, and he was just almost dying because George R.R. Martin couldn't even provide pizza.
But he kept saying, the pizza's coming.
Pizza's coming, boy.
Trust us, the pizza's coming. And of course, probably the greatest song ever in the history of South Park, Wiener, 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 Flaccid Wiener.
I didn't watch it, and I thought that song was great. I didn't watch Game of Thrones. I mean, yeah, but like I was like, just with that one episode, they told you right away what the fans' problem with the show was.
Right.
They wanted dragons, but they weren't getting it, and lots of wieners. But
it was still great. The dragons hadn't come, but it was still great. So that's the thing about me. Couple of things this episode did for me. One is that one of my biggest complaints of this season has been how they have handled Daemon.
Yeah.
They took arguably one of the most popular characters on the show and they shuffled him off to Harrenhal, which is fine. But then ever since he left Rhaenyra, which was like, what, episode 3?
Yeah.
It's been episode after episode of something weird is happening. Oh, I was dreaming. And now I'm waking up and I don't know where I am. And now something weird is happening. Oh, I was dreaming.
Yeah.
Oh, and now I've woken up and I don't know where I am. Like they just did it over and over and over again. And that had been frustrating to me. That said, the payoff was so worth it. And this is a point I made, so I take it all back. The payoff was worth it because here's the thing about Daemon. When you understand how Daemon is and that he's been this way his whole life, if you want to have a scene where he's like, I give all my ambitions up, I declare myself for my queen, you are the heir to the Iron Throne, we fight for our queen and our queen only. For a character like Daemon to get to that point, that is going to take a long process for somebody like Daemon. Because I'll be honest with you, even though I've been totally frustrated with the way they handled Daemon, now that I reflect on it, now that I see what the payoff was, if they had done it after like 2 episodes, it would have felt so unbelievable. It would have felt so fake. If they had done it just after like 1 or 2 little dreams he had, I would have gone, I think he's lying to her. I think he's just tricking her. The only reason I bought it, and how, come on, tell me your blood didn't get rushing when he turns to the men and says, we fight for our queen. Chills. But the only reason that worked is because they had to do what felt like a slogging, long amount of work to get us as the audience to the point to believe like, yeah, we believe the accumulation of all these experiences have led to this. So while I have been complaining about it this whole time, I take it all back. I thought for me, the payoff was worth it. It won't be for everybody. That's fine. You know what the payoff wasn't worth it for, though? I don't know her name. Daemon's other daughter. Daemon's youngest daughter.
Oh, yeah. The one that was the one that was searching for the dragon?
The one going on her walkabout.
Right.
That I don't know how many episodes they
gotta
spend of
find
her
her
going, I heard there's a dragon, to I'm going to go for a walk in the woods. And I'm still walking in the woods. And, oh, look, I hear something. And like that whole thing that just dragged on and on and on. And like I was expecting, like Daemon, we got this huge payoff with this great reunion with Rhaenyra and him devoting himself to her and we fight for our queen. I was expecting that same kind of thing with her.
Yeah.
Like I was expecting her to find this dragon, approaching it, and then the dragon, sensing this is my rider and whatever, and then her mounting the dragon and flying. Instead, we got, oh, there's the dragon. And it's like, that's what we got? So I was a little bit frustrated with that, I must say. Corlys and Aelin. The scene with Corlys and Aelin when he's like, fucker, what did you just say to me? You abandoned us. You know what it's like growing up? Hungry? Do you know what it's like sitting there on the streets and watching my dad, walk by with his other son, all fed and warm? And it's like, screw you, pal. I'd like that. First of all, that performance was insane. And the dude who plays Corlys just reacting with his face, unbelievably good. I was enthralled with that scene. I'll take that over some sword fight between a couple of nobodies on screen any day of the week. I absolutely love that scene. It was one of my favorite of the episode, other than, Daemon and Rhaenyra reuniting. So I just loved that. Also,
do you feel like they teased us a little bit too much, though? Sorry, to go back to
go
like
ahead.
the fights. I feel like they really all season were like, we need to find dragon riders, and they built up conflict and getting armies together. And so I really just thought all this, even with Daemon, was going to build up to some giant fight at least for the end.
just not.
You think
yet.
it's a build up for next season?
Oh, yes, because that's the other thing about Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah.
All Game of Thrones shows, all seasons of Game of Thrones shows are the penultimate episode, the second to last episode, is almost always the episode where big events happen. And then the finale of the seasons are usually setting the table, tying up some loose ends and setting the table for the next season. That's what the Game of Thrones series did. That's what this one did. Like, yeah, remember season 1 just ended with, oh shit, Aemon killed her kid. Yeah. It didn't end with the repercussions of that. It didn't end with the reaction. It ended with that. It just sets the table for season 2. And with this, all the pieces are now moving. The armies are marching. The dragons are mounted. The ships are sailing. The king, Aegon, is fleeing. He realized, yeah, you know what? That was I loved that one conversation between him and
Larry's.
What's that? Larry's. That's right. Larry's, where it's like, I'm just thinking to himself, dude, you're still the king. Just tell your guards the moment Aemon shows up, throw this little shit of a brother of mine in jail. But then Larys brings up the greatest point. He goes, and then who rides Vhagar? You put your brother in jail, we're screwed. Our number one weapon is the biggest dragon in the world. And if you throw your brother in jail, we got nothing. So I love that they set that up so it ends with him on the run. I'll tell you what, I thought it was wonderful. I thought it was really wonderful. And then again, to this other great scene where Alicent shows up to Dragonstone and they have their conversation. And even though we've seen that Alicent realizes she was wrong, it's the first time we get to hear her say, I was wrong. I thought the king wanted this. And it wasn't until that other conversation that they had when she learned about the Song of Fire and Ice, and she's like, that oh shit moment. It's like, I did all this. I did all this.
You're just talking about the burnt prince. What's the burnt prince king's name?
Aegon?
Aegon.
Yeah.
He always seemed to me to be making decisions like quick decisions off of his emotions.
Oh yeah.
And it hasn't served him well. It's made him look like a fool. For him to run away and let everything that has happened just percolate, and for him to not make any quick decisions, and for him to just like let it all sink in, it's scary to think how he's gonna come back next season.
Yeah.
Because that little dumb, snotty kid could come back, a fierce, like a real. I'm scared because I was already scared of the patch, the guy with the patch.
Aemon.
I'm sorry, Aemon, but this brother can come back and become more scarier than Aemon.
Well, remember in the, I don't know if you saw, but you know how at the end of every episode they do a little making of this episode thing? But they're talking to the actor who plays Aegon and he says, we'll see who's the last one standing.
Yeah,
So he ain't done.
It seems like the guy I laughed at, the little punk, who's becoming a little punk?
the dragon attack.
Who's becoming a little
Rhaenyra's son.
Rhaenyra's son.
I want to pitch flap the brown hair off his
Little,
head. That little
and
pissant is bothering me.
his entitled face.
His little entitled face.
I was like, let's trade sons. We'll take the burnt one, and you can.
I don't know. I don't know about that yet. But...
not yet, but you know who he reminds me of? Remember PETA from Hunger Games? He has that same face. That same. Anyways, we're getting off track. The only thing I'm disappointed in is because this is my first Game of Thrones experience for a series like this. So the last episode when they postured up with all the dragons, right? I was in my head. I was like, oh, it's about to go down. It's about to go down in this finale, and that's on me.
I feel like a lot of us felt that way. Maybe that's why we're upset about there not being some big dragon fight. They really set it up like that.
It almost felt like season 2, part 1. These past episodes.
Well, okay, that leads me to another thing that really bothers me, and it's not necessarily a House of the Dragon thing. It's a streaming shows thing. I fucking hate 8-episode seasons.
Yeah, and then two-year wait for the next season.
Yeah, and then we got to wait years for the next season. I just remember when I was a kid, TV shows had like 22 episodes and they came out every year like clockwork. If
Yeah.
they can do 22 episodes
Even-
every year like clockwork, surely you can get one out every year,
Even
even 8 or 10.
Even the best shows and even the best streaming platforms, they're still trying to learn the flow of the streaming release versus what we had before. It feels like a lot of these shows, even if they're good, it felt like they had to make a certain deadline like right away. Like, just to, because if you leave House of the Dragon off of the air for a few years just so you could get a bunch of episodes, you might lose a lot of viewership, just because people.
I just think they can, listen, if you got your production in order,
You're right.
you should have all your ducks lined up. You should be able to do 12 episode seasons, one season a year.
I would hate to hear that they haven't started shooting the next season.
They haven't.
They haven't.
No.
Oh, yeah.
I thought they were filming 2 seasons. Like,
No.
Oh, or was that Rings of Power? Never mind. Okay, well, I guess we have to wait then.
No, it's going to be like a 2-year wait.
Oh
really.
my God! But we said that for this season, and it came by quickly. I remember.
It still took years.
I remember we reported, they were unsure about getting season 2, and like it just came, and it's great. Let's hope we get more episodes.
Well, question is for you guys. What did you think about the finale of House of the Dragon? I actually thought it was great for what a Game of Thrones season finale usually is. It sets the table. And by the way, the showrunner at the end said season 2 is setting up the all-out war. Season 3
see that.
is all-out war.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see what that pans out. Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Paris, what do we got up next?
All right, so Deadpool and Wolverine has just finished its first 10 days in theaters and its second weekend, taking in an insane $97 million. For some perspective, that means Deadpool's second weekend box office would have been the third biggest opening weekend box office of the year, behind only itself and Inside Out. So, John, what do you think of Deadpool's second weekend?
I saw that number and I simply could not believe what I was looking. Normally when a movie makes like over $150 million on its opening weekend, it will have a much larger than normal second weekend drop off. Spider-Man No Way Home had like a 70% second weekend drop off. Not because people didn't love it, it's because everybody already saw it. It had one of the biggest opening weekends in history. So I was expecting, to be honest with you, to see Deadpool and Wolverine take like maybe a 65% drop or something like that. Instead, Deadpool and Wolverine only took a 54% drop. It took a regular drop like any regular movie, despite the fact that it made over $200 million in its opening weekend. And I want you to keep this in mind. Paris kind of alluded to this a little bit. But until Inside Out came along, the biggest opening weekend of the year, Ray, maybe you can double check this for me, was Dune 2. Dune 2 was the second, or was the biggest opening weekend of the year before Inside Out came out. I believe it was like $83 million, $87 million opening weekend.
For Dune 2?
For Dune 2.
Yeah.
I think it was somewhere along those lines. And Deadpool and Wolverine,
It was 82 open.
it was 82. So that was up until like half of the year. Biggest opening weekend of the year, Dune 2, $82 million. Deadpool and Wolverine's second weekend. Deadpool and Wolverine's second weekend just beat the opening weekend of Dune 2 and beat the opening weekend of every other film this year except for Inside Out, which made like 150 something.
Yeah.
I mean, just think about that. A 97. According to the Hollywood Reporter, that makes it the 8th biggest second weekend in history, R-rated or otherwise. Another little feat that Deadpool and Wolverine just crossed: highest grossing R-rated film domestically in history, passing The Passion of the Christ. Now, the worldwide biggest R-rated film in history is Joker, and you know it's going to catch Joker.
Yeah.
So it's now the biggest all-time R-rated film domestically. It's closing in on that. It's now the 8th biggest second weekend of all time. It's going to become, possibly, depending on what kind of legs it can have this week, It's going to become one of the fastest, maybe a top 10 fastest films ever to hit $1 billion. And by the way, anybody left out there that doesn't think Deadpool and Wolverine is going to make $1 billion? Anybody left? Anybody? No, because now it's over 800 million already. In 10 days, it made over $800 million. It's 830 something, 840 something, somewhere along those lines. It's just nuts. Also, where's that comic book movie fatigue? What? We've been saying on this show for a long time now, there is no such thing as comic book movie fatigue. There is mediocre movie fatigue. Yeah. And as the comic book movies got more and more mediocre, there's no surprise. It's not a coincidence that the box office and attention started to fall. But once something comes out that looks exceptional, guess what? Everybody ran back to the theaters again. If people were just tired of comic book movies, a lot of people still would have saw Deadpool and Wolverine. A lot of people would have still gone to see it, but not this many. This thing's going to hit $1 billion before its third weekend. Think about that. This movie's going to hit $1 billion before its third weekend. So tell me more about this comic book movie fatigue everybody's talking about. It's also, I put a note about this in our newsletter a while ago, but man, the reports of Disney's demise have been greatly exaggerated because, everybody's talking about Pixar's dead and Disney's dead and Marvel is dead. And all of a sudden, the #1 box office film of the year and the #2 animated film of the year, all time, $1.5 billion worth of Inside Out 2. What's that? Pixar's dead? What? And then their very next film that they put out is about to hit $1 billion before its third weekend in Deadpool and Wolverine. And by the way, with the box office results of Deadpool and Wolverine, this movie has now made Disney in just 4 films. Disney has released 4 films this year. That Omen movie, Planet of the Apes, Deadpool and Wolverine, Inside Out. With just 4 movies out, Disney has now crossed, just past the halfway mark of the year, the $3 billion mark this year. In just a little over half a year. And they still have more movies coming, including a little movie called Moana 2, which, spoiler alert, is going to make some money.
Yeah. Speaking of, didn't they release Young Woman in the Sea? It didn't make a lot of money, but was that Disney or was that considered Fox or Searchlight?
It would be considered a Disney film, but I don't think it was counted amongst their, because they never got a wide release.
And, yeah, so I didn't think it didn't make a lot of money. I only brought it up because I watched it on the weekend, and thanks for whoever pointed that out to me that it went on streaming. It's a good movie. I really enjoy that movie.
So Deadpool now is just crushing it. Disney is right now crushing it. And they're also, besides the success of Inside Out and Deadpool, they're also in the basking the afterglow of the huge worldwide pop they got from their Comic-Con presentation. Now we'll see what they do with their stupid, shitty little D23 piece of crap. But I'm sure there's going to be some interesting announcements that come out of there. So we're going to see that too. So now the question becomes, it's a different question now. The question is not, nobody is left to ask, is Deadpool going to be a hit? Because believe it or not, I had a lot of people writing into me in the previous year saying Deadpool's going to flop. None of them will admit it now. Nobody's going to come out now and admit and raise their hand and say, yeah, I was one of those. But there were a number of people, like over the past year or so, wrote and said, Deadpool's going to flop. Okay. Then, so that's no longer the question about whether Deadpool's going to be a hit. The question is also no longer, will Deadpool be the next $1 billion film? Obviously it is, right? So that question is no longer on the table. That's gone. Everybody who said there's no way it can make $1 billion, that's off the table now. Now the only remaining question is, how much will this thing make? Now it's going to clear the $1 billion. Is $2 billion a possibility? Is 1.5 a possibility? Will it catch Inside Out 2 to be the #1 box office film of the year? I am personally still sitting on the $1.2 to $1.3 billion mark. I think that's where it's going to come in. I hope I'm wrong. I hope it does way better than that. And if it does, awesome. But I'm still going to say stick around the 1.2, 1.3. Ray, what were you saying you thought it was going to be?
I didn't even had it just because I didn't want to go over. I think I said 917 million.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
So I think you're safe.
Now we're headed into the billion zone, because I guess it will hit a billion, which congratulations. I'm gonna go on the lower end, below you, Sean. Maybe at a billion, 115, something like that.
So 1.1. What about
I'm at the
you, Paris?
1.2, 1.3. I don't think it's gonna catch Inside Out. Or surpass it. I don't think that's possible.
It's just, remember, like, Inside Out is over 1.5 billion, which nobody in their right mind ever thought was going to happen. Like, Amy Poehler didn't dream in her wildest dreams that Inside Out 2 would become a 1.5 billion. Like, we all knew it would be big, but I don't think anybody thought it was going to be that big.
I love how it's evenly making money domestically and internationally. They're about the same.
Yeah.
Like 52-48. I like how the money is being spread evenly throughout the whole world, I guess, with this movie.
Question is for you guys. What do you think about this? Deadpool and Wolverine just made $97 million, which would have been a remarkable first weekend. But no, it did that on its second weekend. It's already passed the $820 million mark in just 10 days. It'll probably hit $1 billion before the end of its third weekend. How big do you think it can be? Are you surprised by the numbers that we're seeing? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we're now going to move on to the most important part of our show, which is taking your live comments and questions. But before we do, we're going to take a couple of minutes here to thank a couple of sponsors of today's episode, our friends at Manscaped, and speaking of Deadpool, Mint Mobile. Guys, we want to take a second and thank a sponsor of today's episode, Manscaped. Sizzle alert, this summer, let the only thing that's smoking at your barbecue be the grill, not your grooming game. Get ready for the ultimate cookout season with Manscaped. Whether you're flipping burgers or cannonballing into the pool, make sure your meat looks neat with the Performance Package 5.0 Ultra. Head to manscaped.com and use the code Campea for 20% off and free shipping. Now, come on, guys, if you're like me, you used to do your grooming the old barbaric way. You know, using the clippers on your electric shaver, it never did a good job and always left me screaming out several profanities. So like me, you know that you need the Performance Package 5.0 Ultra. The Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra is perfect for achieving that crisp, clean, and confident look for your barbecues and beach days. The Weed Whacker 2.0, guys, keep your ears and nose as tidy as your hedges next door with our Weed Whacker 2.0 ear and nose hair trimmer. And you get Crop Soother Ball Aftershave Lotion, Crop Preserver, Anti-Chafing Ball Deodorant, and Boxers 2.0, the ultimate supplement to those hot summer days, equipped with the signature jewel pouch to protect your meatballs wherever the heat takes you. So get 20% off and free shipping with the code Campea at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use that code Campea. Manscaped, the perfect way to get your patties sizzling hot this summer. You know when you discover a new binge-worthy show or a song that you bump on repeat and you have to share it with your friends so they can experience just how awesome it is? That's kind of what it feels like when you discover that Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan. It's such an awesome deal, there is no way you can keep it to yourself. My last mobile service provider was quite good, but ever since I switched to Mint Mobile, I've enjoyed even better coverage, better phone clarity, and I'm paying less than a third of what I paid to my old provider. Say goodbye to your overpriced wireless plans, jaw-dropping monthly bills, and unexpected overages. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all of your existing contacts. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month unlimited wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bills to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions may apply. See Mint Mobile for details. And thank you to our friends at Manscaped and Mint Mobile for sponsoring today's episode. All right, guys, listen, before we get to the questions, I should mention this, and you guys probably are aware of this, but still. Like I said, we haven't done a show since last Wednesday. So the questions have been piling up. We are pretty far behind because of our illnesses that we've had here. So we will probably not get through all the questions today, but we will get through just as many as we can. And then we will pick up, and I'm sure we'll get them all cleared off tomorrow. But I just wanted to give you a heads up that if you have sent in a question the last couple of days and you don't see it get answered here today, it might just be because we're a little backed up. We'll get through everything between today and tomorrow. All right. With that down, Paris, what do we got up first?
All right. So Brian O'Connor says, I wish they did more with Evan Peters in WandaVision.
I don't. I mean, Evan Peters is a fabulous actor, but the character, you put the character first. The character is not there to serve the actor. The actor's there to serve the character. And I think the character didn't need any more screen time than they already got. Like, I thought they used the character just right, but Evan's a fantastic actor. All right, what's next?
Brian O'Connor says Deadpool 1 and 2 absolutely had a better and more creative campaign. I feel like Ryan and everyone else ran out of steam this time around. We were spoiled with the previous films.
I'll say this. I mean, look, one of the big things about the marketing campaigns for Deadpool 1 and 2 is that they were very guerrilla marketing focused, right? Because they didn't have a lot of money to use for those films. I mean, the budget for the second one got bigger, but they were still a little bit limited. And so Ryan Reynolds did everything they could. With this movie, with Disney behind them and with Marvel behind them, I mean, first of all, public awareness was off the scale. Off the scale. Deadpool and Wolverine were everywhere. And listen, you may say that the other campaigns were more creative. And I don't necessarily disagree. But were they more effective? Let me tell you this. While Deadpool and Deadpool 2 were the number 2 and number 3 all-time biggest R-rated films in history, Deadpool 3 has passed both of them in 10 days. Deadpool 3 has made more at the box office in 10 days than Deadpool 1 and Deadpool 2 did. So clearly, the marketing worked, right? The marketing worked. But did they do some more creative things with the other ones? Yes, because, they always say that, necessity is the mother of all invention. Yeah. When you have to get creative, you come up with that stuff. But they had a pretty good marketing campaign, I'd say. All right, what's next?
All right. Obert One Canobert says, what are the chances Fantastic Four bumps its July 25th, 2025 release date? Less than a year out and has only just started shooting. Superman releases 2 weeks earlier, but has already wrapped filming. Maybe Superman just has more practical sets in FX?
I've been getting a lot of questions about this. Look, a couple things to understand. First of all, the way they shoot movies is they don't shoot them, and then when we think it'll be done, that's when we release it. A lot of movies shoot and then sit on a shelf for a year before being put out, because it's not just about putting it out when you can. They have a very definite, the distributor has a very definitive release plan and strategy. They know where and when they want it to release. It's not about when the movie's finished shooting. So they shot the movie when they could make the schedules all work, and this was the best time to do it. Superman is going to be completely done and sitting on a shelf for months before they release it in theaters. The other thing is this. A lot of people asking about, oh my gosh, they just started shooting and it comes out in a year. That's not enough time. Guys, that's worlds of time. Number one, they have been working on Fantastic Four for months already. Building sets. They're even already starting to do visual effects work, even though they haven't started doing the shooting yet. They've been doing loads of work on this movie before cameras start rolling. Number two, they're only going to be shooting for about 3 months. Like everybody thinks yeah, there are some rare examples of movies where they're on set for 8 months and shooting this. Normally it's 2 to 3 months, sometimes a little bit longer than that. So they're just going to be doing that. So loads of work being done already. They're going to be working on all the post-production visual effects because they have such a massive crew while they're shooting. Shooting's going to take 3, maybe 4 months. And then this movie's going to be ready on time with plenty of time to spare. This is not a tight turnaround time. I mean, not like it would be a tight turnaround time if they just decided today to do Fantastic Four and then they had to do 6 months of prep work and then they started shooting. Yeah, maybe then, but this is not remotely a tight turnaround time. This is plenty of time. Plenty of time. All right, what's next?
All right. Chip Crisper says, it's the climax of Secret Wars. The multiversal heroes gather to stop Lord God Doom. Doom kills Peter. Deadpool has one F-bomb in the chamber, but it's taken by Rocket. Deadpool, no, bleep, not Sugar Bear. Crap, you cute bleep. You used up my only swear.
Yeah, I can see whenever they do bring Deadpool into some other MCU movie, whether it's one of the Avengers movies or whether it's even in any of the other ones, they're definitely going to be using the bleeping. They're absolutely going to be using the bleeping. I don't think they'll kill Peter Pool. I don't, because every Deadpool has a Peter. He's a goddamn legend. Said by Matt. That was Matthew McConaughey who said that, by the way. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to let you guys know, I should have said this off the top, that now that we are done the second weekend, we are going to indulge spoilerish questions of Deadpool and Wolverine. At $800 million, nearly everybody's seen the movie. So we are going to start indulging that, just to let you guys know. All right, what's next?
All right, Raymond Verada says, Dr. Doom can be a Thanos-level threat because in RDJ, he's not just the world's smartest man. I know you say the MCU is different from the comics, but the comics Dr. Doom also has sorcery. He's tried to save his mom from hell, time travel, and his Doombots.
If I'm not mistaken, at some point, he's also became the Sorcerer Supreme. I mean, that's the thing. Victor Von Doom is the amalgamation of technology and magic. Technology and magic. And so there's some great comic book storylines. You're talking about him trying to rescue his mom from Mephisto. There's some great comic book storylines with Doctor Strange and Doom. Now, whether they choose to incorporate that, I think it would be amazing if this Tony Stark variant, who, again, maybe his great-grandparents never immigrated to the United States and they stayed in Latveria and they kept their real family name, Von Dooms, and he grows up there. Not only does he have this incredibly scientific mind, but he starts to dabble in the arcane. And yes, world's smartest guy and a wizard, which makes that line from Infinity War, you're embarrassing me in front of the wizard, particularly more funny. It's a potent combination, man. It would be a potent combination. All right, what's next?
All right. Clayton says, I would love to see Howard Stark's plane crash in Latveria during the events of Captain America, the First Avenger, instead of him making it back as a way to introduce RDJ as Doom.
Listen, we've been talking about the fact that there are going to be a million different ways. There's a million different ways they can do that Victor Von Doom in some other universe is actually a Tony Stark variant, but just somewhere in their history, something went different. Whether it was Tony's great-great-great-great-great-grandparents, or whether it was Tony as a young man, or something like you're saying, like Howard Stark during the events of either Captain America or Agent Carter. He gets fed up. Maybe after Cap goes down, in that universe, Howard Stark gets totally fed up with the U.S. government and decides, I'm taking my talents to Latveria, changes his name from Stark to Von Doom, and has his son that he names Victor. I mean, again, there's a million ways they could do it, but that's certainly one way they could approach it. All right, what's next?
All right. Garden Variety Vagabond says, hey, John, Screen Rant gave as one of their suggestions for the new Wonder Woman to be Chloe Grace Moretz. She kept up her fighting skills since Kick-Ass and has great charm, charisma, and beauty. Do you think she could be good, yes, X-actor in X role?
I love Chloe Grace Moretz.
Me too.
No chance.
No.
Isn't she a hobbit? Ray, look it up. What's Chloe Grace Moretz's height? But I think she's
What do you mean?
I think she's a hobbit. Which she's fabulous. Listen, I'm married to a hobbit. It's totally fine.
Wow, you're really just digging a hole right now.
It's fine. She's 5'4".
She's 5'4".
Average height. She's average height.
That's a great height right
That
there.
ain't a Wonder Woman
But that's
height.
not,
No.
yeah.
That's let me rephrase. That's not an Amazonian height.
No, it's not.
They would have to Robert Downey Jr. her.
Yeah, or Tom Cruise, or put the stilts under her feet. Like,
Yeah.
it's just that. By the way, I do tease Anne because Anne is 5'2".
No, you
Yeah.
can't go back anymore. No, it's already.
I tease Anne every once in a while. Like, I tease her about her height sometimes. Every once in a while, when she walks into the room, I start humming the Shire theme from Lord of the Rings.
No.
She'll walk into the room and I go, do 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 do, and then of course bad things happen to me. But yeah, so nothing against hobbits. I'm married to a hobbit. Hobbits is
She's fun sized.
she's fun sized. That's yes. Anne is fun sized. All right, what's next?
Ben Bang says, John, this tip is in memory of my late mother, Frances Hamblin Cosa,
Oh, I'm sorry you lost her, man.
who wished she'd never taken me to Temple of Doom. Question, what do I need to know to see Deadpool and Wolverine? Haven't seen just Deadpool 1. Thanks.
You know what? Somebody else asked me, a friend of mine asked me a startlingly similar question to this not long ago. I would say this, if you've seen Deadpool, I would really recommend seeing Deadpool 2 because, yeah, okay, so I would say there are only two things that you got to watch. Deadpool 2, and you don't have to see it, but it would be helpful, would be Logan. Now look, Deadpool 3 is also done in such a way as that if you just walk in cold, they do enough exposition in the movie to let you know what's going on. But I think you'll be doing yourself a big favor if you make sure you at least see Deadpool 2, and then second most importantly would be Logan. Again, you're okay seeing it without watching those two, but I just think you'll be a little bit more ahead of the game if you do. All right, what's next?
All right. I wanted Cillian, but I mock says, this is a two-parter. My absolute favorite character in all of fiction is Dr. Doom. That being said, I'm personally conflicted with RDJ pick. The story is there, it just needs true inspiration to see it through. I like the thought of an RDJ Doom seeking revenge on Mephisto for killing his parents while still just a child,
Ooh.
becoming stronger through sorcery. I also would love a Pepper Potts of Morgan Stark line about Doom not having a heart. Love the show, guys. John is movie commentary genius.
Oh,
Jesus.
Thank you for that. Again, a million ways to set it up, right? I like your idea of like as a young child, his parents get murdered by this demonic being. He realizes with all his intelligence, even as a young kid, that he's going to need magic to be able to do this. So he applies a scientific method to magic, maybe a little bit like Doctor Strange did. So yeah, again, I like that too. I think, again, there are a million ways for them to do this, an absolute million ways for them to do it. Many, many really good, interesting ones. But I'd be down for the one you just suggested too. All right, thanks for that, I wanted. What's next?
Pat Deary says, do you think RDJ would have come back to the MCU this soon if he did not win his Oscar last year? I feel that if he didn't, he wouldn't be so quick to come back to Feige. Not the biggest fan of the Doom casting, but can't deny the creative possibilities there.
Here's the thing, Pat. I would almost think the opposite. I would almost think I would almost think winning the Oscar would lessen the chances of him coming back. It's like, what are you talking about? I'm an Oscar winner. You want me to come back and play Iron Man? Or you want me to come back and play some magic guy from Latveria? Well, I'm an Oscar winner, yo.
Yeah.
Like, so I would almost think the opposite. I would almost think like if Oppenheimer didn't succeed, that would have hastened his return. Look, I have said for years, I have always believed and preached on this show 100% that Robert Downey Jr. would be back. I've said that in no uncertain terms, and Chris Evans, by the way. So I think he was going to come back regardless, but again, I almost think winning the Oscar hurt the chances of him coming back. All I know is they must have presented him something pretty cool, so I'm excited for it. All right. What's next?
All right. Robert Doomey Jr. says, I wonder if Robert Doomey Jr.'s comeback will be as great as Kim Kardashian's comeback.
Oh boy.
Do you ever watch Parks and Rec?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
Love Parks and Rec.
Okay. There is a blooper reel from Parks and Rec. Some of my audience know what this is. And it is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Like, I've never seen the Parks and Rec cast crack up so much. But there's a scene where you've got Ann Perkins and Leslie Knope sitting at this head table, and they're like they're pretending they're doing a town hall meeting, and the rest of the cast is in the chairs. He goes, all right, everybody loves a good comeback. Rocky, whatever. And some people make, this person's comeback. And then Chris Pratt, Andy goes, Kim Kardashian. And then Leslie Knope, she goes, I don't know. And then Chris Pratt goes, because she had cum on her back in that one video.
Okay, I was like, where?
And the cast, I've never seen the Parks and Rec cast lose it like that. Like, they just lost their minds. They the guy who plays Jerry, I thought was gonna die.
Yeah.
And Nick Offerman was falling out of his chair. He was like, it's just one of the, again, I don't do it justice, folks, but you can look it up on YouTube and find it. The Chris Pratt's timing of it is so, Kim Kardashian. Oh my God, it was so good. All right, what's next?
All right. Korea Got Soul says, hi guys, so what if John Malkovich is actually older Doom, was a professor to an arrogant young Stark, became enemies over time. Doom finds a way to steal Stark's mind, but dies in the process. Stark lives with Doom's mind. This would be an FU to Stark.
I mean, the funny thing is what you were just describing is eerily familiar to what John Malkovich was going to do in Spider-Man 4. I'm not talking Tom Holland Spider-Man 4. I'm talking Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man 4. Because for those of you who may not remember, before they canceled Spider-Man 4 at the last second, they had cast John Malkovich to be Dr. Connors, the guy who goes on to become, I believe, Vulture. And so you're describing John Malkovich. He actually plays his professor who then turns bad. It's like, that's exactly what they were going to do in Spider-Man. So I think they might want to try to avoid those types of similarities. Korea Got Soul, by the way, that's a great name. I love that name.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
All right. Hi, John. Gilbert says, hi, John. I had a theory about Doomsday in which I think Doom has come to the 616 because he's not powerful enough. He might be coming to acquire the 10 rings and Miss Marvel's bracelets so that he can kill the Beyonders. Thanks for all you do.
I don't see it. I think wherever they're going to say this Tony variant Doom comes from, he's already Doom. I like, because he would have artifacts like an unto, maybe not the 10 rings, but like an unto the 10 rings, or Ms. Marvel's bangles, or other stuff like that in his universe too. So I don't know that he comes. I think he comes to the 616, if he comes to the 616 at all, because he's trying to set up Battleworld, in power. I don't think he's coming in weakness to acquire power. I think he's coming in power. You might be right though, Gilbert. Like, you might be right on the money here. We'll see. But I think he's coming already pretty damn strong. At least that's the way I see it. All right. What's next?
Brandon says, well, John, today's the opening day for Trap, and not only are the reviews not out, but apparently they're not even holding any press screenings for this film. Unfortunately, it seems like this film is going to be a stinker, and WB is trying to hide it. So
obviously, this is a question that got sent in Thursday or Friday of last week when Trap was coming out. And, the reviews aren't terrible. The last I checked, Trap had a 50%.
Yeah, like a 52.
Yeah, like the last I saw was 50 right on the nose, which is not great. I mean, listen, I had super high expectations about this. When I did hear that they didn't even do press screenings for it, I thought,
yeah,
that's not good. Now, I still would have gone, but I got sick.
So it's 52 and 64 audience score. 52 critics score.
So it's sitting on 52 now. So it went up a little bit since when I checked it. So obviously, nowhere near as good as I was hoping it would be. But look, I'm still going to check it out now that I'm back on my feet. Maybe tonight or tomorrow, and I will go check it out. Does Aliens open this week?
No, the 16th.
16th. Okay. Yeah. Damn, I got excited there for a second. All right, what's next?
Baby Wants Uppies says, and thank you.
And tipped in 20.
Yeah.
Thank you
so much. All right. Hey guys, with all the recent chatter around the RDJ casting, who are some ex-superhero actors you think would be great in another MCU/DC role? I would love to see James McAvoy as Wolverine. After seeing Split, I think he could absolutely nail that role.
I don't see James McAvoy as a Wolverine. I think there's some other fan castings that are far more like I'm still on the Daniel Radcliffe train, even though he's insisted he's not going to be doing that. But I would still be totally for Daniel Radcliffe. I have always been for why am I freezing on
Zach.
what's that?
Zac
Zac
Efron.
Efron. Thank you. I've always been for Zac Efron. I think he'd be great for it. And I think there are many other actors. I just don't see it. Like, yeah, he did that role in Split, but that role was very different than Wolverine. So I don't see him as a Wolverine, but I could see James McAvoy playing some kind of other character, maybe in the DC universe or something. I mean, McAvoy has made it pretty clear that he's not coming back. Yeah. At least not as Charles Xavier. He could always come back as something else, though. Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you for that, Baby Wants Upsies. I love the name. And thank you for supporting us on that level. That's really generous of you, man. Thank you so much. All right. What's next?
Tyler Fletcher says, "Hi, John. Did you see Jonathan Majors speaking about how he's heartbroken by Marvel replacing him with RDJ? I was getting so much backlash in the comments when I was stating that Kang was a big miss, even if played by a different actor. Story comes first."
Boo-hoo. Boo-hoo. Listen, listen, you guys watch me every time. You know I love Jonathan Majors as an actor. I think that dude is stupid talented. But okay, he's heartbroken that okay, well, I'm sure every actor everywhere is heartbroken when they don't get a role. Listen, we had Aaron Cummings in here. I won't name things, but there are major roles. Now, obviously, Aaron got a lot of work, but there were major roles that you guys don't know about that she got down, like out of the first 500 people auditioning for it, down to the final 3 or 2, like major roles. And Aaron would have to sit there later then and watch some other woman playing this huge star-making role in this movie or TV series, right? I mean, that happens to every actor. But the reality is this. Kang didn't work. Kang could have worked. And it's not Jonathan Majors' fault, but forget Jonathan Majors' personal drama. Kang didn't work. They dropped the ball with Kang. They did not introduce him right. They didn't flesh him out right. And then when they finally gave him a little bit of a showcase, they had him lose to Ant-Man. There was nothing about Kang. Like Thanos, man, even before Infinity War, you mentioned the word Thanos, audiences would shiver. Kang, not so much. Like they had a full Loki season 1, a full Loki season 2, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, a full movie, and they never did anything to really make us feel like Kang was that big of a deal. And if they try to continue going on with Kang, and again, none of this is Jonathan Majors' fault. If they try to just continue on with that Kang, a threat that none of us feel threatened by, then Avengers 5 and 6 were destined to fail. They needed to move on from the character. Now, again, his personal drama completely aside, they needed to move on from that Kang character. And guess what? The actor is owed nothing. The actor is owed a paycheck for the work they do. Other than that, they're owed nothing. The filmmakers and the studios got to do what's best for the story. The story comes first. And it was the right decision to make. And, I heard that Jonathan Majors said he was heartbroken. And what else is he supposed to say? It's not like he hopped on social media and said, "I want to declare that I'm heartbroken." He was caught up to by some reporter who asked him the question, and his answer was, "Oh, I'm heartbroken." That's the perfectly good, fine answer to give. But it doesn't really ultimately mean anything. So no, they had to move on from Kang, and it was the right decision that they moved on from Kang. All right, what's next?
Joey says, "Would Doom need to kill a character from Earth 616 to establish his strength?"
616, by the way, is the proper way to say it.
All right, 616 to establish his strength. Or would the same tone be set if he killed a Peter Parker or whomever from whatever universe Doom comes from?
So we've been saying on the show for a while, ever since they made the announcement about Doctor Doom, is that they'll need to do something quickly to establish this guy is an Omega level threat, right? Much like the way in Infinity War, even though we had met Thanos technically already in the MCU before Infinity War, we never saw him do anything. So in Infinity War, the very first thing they do, it opens with us seeing Thanos just decimated all the Asgardians. Killed Loki, beat the hell out of Thor, killed Heimdall, and then, just to top it off, beat the living crap out of the Hulk. And that just sent a message. The first 5 minutes of the movie, it sent a message to the audience. If you hadn't seen another MCU movie before this guy is a problem. They need to do something not identical, but similar. They need to do something similar with Robert Downey Jr.'s Doom. They got to have us introduced to him in a way that immediately puts us on notice about why this guy needs to be taken seriously. It can be killing Captain Marvel in a fight. Maybe taking us friend. But no, to your point, Joey, it doesn't have to be in the 616. We can see him in his own reality or another reality, fighting a version of his Illuminati and taking out that Illuminati, or taking out a Hulk there, or taking out a Captain Marvel there, or whatever. I have made the suggestion and everybody got mad at me, including Ray. Everybody got mad at me. If he comes into the 616, if you want to make the whole audience seethingly hate this Doctor Doom character, have him kill Tony's daughter, who looks like, with like hopes, like, oh, it's Daddy. Bang, kills Pepper and her daughter. It'll have the same effect that Reek killing John Wick's puppy had in the first John Wick. It will instantly turn everybody in the audience against them, and it'll instantly make the audience feel that whatever unholy violence John Wick does to anybody in this movie now is totally justified. You do something like that, I'm not saying they're going to do it. I'm just saying, you're telling me that wouldn't... Think about this. Think about movie theaters across America. If in some opening sequence, Doom makes his incursion into the 616, a couple of Avengers come to stand against him. Maybe he needed something of Tony's. He found out one of his variants on this Earth 616 had some additional technology that he wanted. He goes there. You got Captain Marvel, you got War Machine, you got Spider-Man, whatever. And he decimates them, maybe even killing one of them. And then the final thing he does is kills Pepper and her daughter. Imagine that movie theater. The scene goes quiet. This somber music starts to play as a close-up of just a hand. You don't see anything else, just a hand with a little drop of blood on the tip. And you know it's Pepper, or you know it's their daughter, whatever. Imagine the weeping and the wailing and the crying in that theater, and everybody in that theater going, this motherfucker's gotta die.
That's dark.
It's dark, but it would be effective. That's all I'm saying. All right, what's next?
All right, Ribbed for Your Pleasure says, my boy Ray got so sick of the BS with Blade, COVID took over his body. Feel better soon. If you guys have the time, check out actors Jimmy Akinbola, Kofi Cerebo, Aldous Hodge as Blade replacement. I agree, John. Mahershala Ali will be out soon.
Well, we've talked a lot about Aldous Hodge doing it. I'm not familiar with Kofi. Jimmy, though, and he's got a super unique last name. That isn't he the guy who plays Carl? No, not Carl. Who's the butler in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? What's the name of the butler again?
Jeffrey.
Yeah. Isn't Jimmy the guy who plays like Jeffrey in the new Fresh Prince thing?
Bel-Air.
Him as Blade, really?
I mean, I think this is just a list of dark-skinned act. I mean, other than Aldous Hodge, I don't
Aldous Hodge
see...
would be a great Blade.
Kofi is very beautiful, but I just don't. He looks the part, but I don't see him as being Blade.
Whenever I hear Kofi, all I think about, who's the WWE wrestler?
Kofi Kingston.
All I think about is Kofi Kingston when I hear somebody say Kofi. Anyway, all right, what's next?
All right, New Nan, this is a two-parter, says, I am a new listener, so you can say I've been around since the early DPW Talking Point days.
Oh, thank you.
Here's why I'm not excited that RDJ is going to play Doom. After DPW, I was hoping that the whole multiverse would be finished. Instead, they're going to have to keep it going to explain his presence. You can't just drop RDJ into a Doom body and expect us to accept it. So long live the multiverse. Glad I can listen to you during a hopefully new golden age of Marvel. Glad I could jump on board before you retire.
Well, see, here's the thing, though, Noonan. Nobody wants the multiverse dead and gone more than I do. But the multiverse was not going anywhere until we get Secret Wars. Now, maybe you don't know the story of Secret Wars, and that's fine. But Secret Wars is all multiverse, right? So if they had not cast Robert Downey Jr. to play Doctor Doom, we're still getting multiverse, right? So if your big problem with the casting was this means we have to continue with multiverse, which I would understand that complaint. But if that is the complaint, that casting Robert Downey Jr. means we have to continue with multiverse, the reality is multiverse was continuing regardless. Like Kevin Feige's got us heading towards Secret Wars for good or for ill. And so with that said, casting Robert Downey Jr. is not what's making if they hadn't, we're still keeping multiverse. The belief is that Secret Wars will then end the multiverse stuff. But we weren't ending it before then with or without Robert Downey Jr., just so you know. All right, thanks for writing that in, Noonan. Appreciate it. What's next?
All right, Reggie Phoenix says, do you think we see Tom Holland's Spider-Man again before Secret Wars? If so, where?
That's a really good question, Reggie.
Yeah.
I just don't know. Look, I think there is a possibility because of the street level nature of it. I think there's a possibility we see Tom Holland in a scene or two in Captain America 4. I think that's a possibility. I also think it's a possibility because of the nature of the Thunderbolts that maybe they cross paths with Spider-Man. Again, it would be for a short stint. But I don't think we're getting a Spider-Man 4, a Spider-Man like No Way to the Living Room or whatever. No, Home. That's right. So Spider-Man Homeboy or Spider-Man Homebred or Spider-Man Home Run or Spider-Man, whatever. I don't think we're getting another Spider-Man movie, at least not before Doomsday. So we'll see. All right. Thanks, Reggie. What's next?
All right. Anonymous says, what makes Peter fighting a Doom that looks like Stark so heartbreakingly different from Peter fighting a professor he likes or a goblin that looks like Norman? They didn't spend much time together. Are we assuming they saw each other often off camera?
Oh my God. Did you watch the MCU movies? Like, okay, so yes, first of all, it's implied that they did spend a lot of time together in between films. But guys, just think about like Endgame. The heaviest thing weighing on Tony Stark in Endgame was not that half the world was lost. It was that kid was lost. He kept a picture of that kid in his kitchen. That's the part. It wasn't the rest of the world. I'm sure he felt very bad about they lost the rest of the world too. But the thing that crushed him and weighed on Tony was that he lost the kid. And then fast forward to after Endgame, to No Way Home, what was the part that really broke up Peter the most? Tony was gone. He lost Tony. They did several scenes of him just reflecting and being sad about the loss of Tony. I mean, there's a significant difference, Anonymous, between, there was a college professor I liked, to this guy who was literally his father figure and who may have low-key been banging his aunt on the side. Regardless, he was incredibly attached to Tony. It was his surrogate father in many ways. All right, what's next?
Quintessa, I barely know her, says, curious. John says each Superman should have a unique theme song. Do you feel that way about each Bond?
Superman and Bond are two very different things. Every single Bond, for many, many years, the Bond movies were, every new Bond movie was a new Bond movie, right? Like it wasn't a continuous thing. And so when a new actor would be swapped, they were not rebooting James Bond, right? James Bond was still James Bond. They never rebooted him. So, I mean, they kind of did a little bit with Daniel Craig, but other than that, like it was never a reboot. M was still M. They quite often still carried over other actors who played different roles and things like that. Superman is different. It's a franchise. And then they end that part of the franchise, they wait a bit, and then they reboot it with a totally new thing. So it's not an apples to apples comparison. They're two totally, and I would also argue that James Bond is not just a different type. James Bond is unique in and of itself in all the movie fandom. Like in all the movie world and all of movie history, James Bond is a very, very unique franchise because he's handled that way. Superman is just like any other comic book franchise, right? You do your run with Christopher Reeve as Superman, then you reboot, and then you do your run with this person, then it's a total reboot. And so for that reason, yeah, I think it is important that each new Superman reboot have its own identifying music, but it's a completely different story. It's not remotely similar to the James Bond situation. All right, what's next?
All right. Can you please, Anonymous says, can you please give a date that we can start asking D&W spoiler questions?
Today.
I missed your spoiler discussion and I'm dying to ask something that confused me.
Well, yeah, the answer to that is today. So we've already started taking some of them. So there you go. All right, what's next?
Matan Valensky says, The Penguin and Lanterns moving to HBO, that while not the entire slate FX could work with Marvel or Lucasfilm Star Wars for a series or two. FX could help Marvel and Star Wars to teach them to how to make actual shows instead of elongated movies.
There's a really, really, really big difference. HBO and Max are not like FX and Disney Plus. While FX is under the Disney umbrella and Disney Plus is under the Disney umbrella and Marvel is under the Disney umbrella, they are all separate companies. Under Disney, yes, but completely separate companies. You have Kathleen Kennedy's the head of this one, Kevin Feige's the head of this other one, Peter Docter is the head of the Pixar one. Like they're completely independent and completely different companies. HBO and Max, be very, very clear about this, are the same thing. The head of HBO is the same guy who is the head of Max. They have the same chairman. HBO and Max both have the same head guy. They are, for all, not specifically and not literally, but for all intents and purposes, HBO and Max are the same thing. So that's why I was emphasizing people when they said that Penguin is now a HBO production, not a Max production. Oh no, some people said it literally meant nothing because they're interchangeable. They're literally interchangeable terms. Whatever is on HBO is on Max and vice versa. So it's the analogy of saying, well, if this can do this, Penguin can now be a Mac. Can't they do? No, it's totally different stuff. It's completely different companies, totally different workflows. It's not, that's the thing though. It's just not similar. I can see how on the surface it kind of raises the question. Absolutely. But they are two totally different scenarios. All right. What's next?
All right. Caleb Jacobs says, I really enjoyed the Fall Guy Ryan Gosling movie. This movie deserves more love. It's underrated AF.
Oh, 100% it is.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not saying, I don't necessarily think Fall Guy is a top 5 movie of the year. I'm not at all. But it is a very fun, very enjoyable movie that totally tanked at the box office and totally deserved more attention. It's a fun movie. It's an entertaining movie. The performances are wonderful. Again, not going to win any Academy Awards, except for maybe for stunt work if they introduce a stunt category. But it's a great movie. It absolutely deserved more attention. All right, what's next?
JM Punk says, but John, superhero fatigue. I love the Doctor Doom Tony variant idea. In Iron Man 2008, they ask about his nickname, the Merchant of Death.
Oh, wow.
So him getting the Doctor Doom name makes sense.
You know what? I didn't even remember that. That's yeah, the merch. I wonder if that's something that maybe sticks with him later. Okay, I don't know that they're going to connect any of those Jam Punk, but that's a really cool thing to bring back because I totally forgot about that. Maybe they mine some creativity and try to find a way to work that in there. It's a good idea. All right, what's next?
Matan Valensky says, you said that Wolverine vs. Hulk can only sustain a scene instead of a whole movie. What about Wolverine vs. Black Panther? Does it need to exclusively be Logan and T'Challa?
Why do we want a Wolverine versus Black Panther movie? By the way, we don't even have a Black Panther right now. Not really. Okay, well, so let's put that aside. Who's asking for a Wolverine versus? What's with everybody wanting a versus movie? Anyway. But okay, let's address it theoretically. In theory, yeah, like because you have far more narrative, right, with a Wolverine and a Black Panther character. There's far more narrative, a lot more storytelling. Then you have to build up what is your central conflict. Right? What's the central conflict? What is driving? You know, a lot of people poo-poo on Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. I personally like the movie because they built up an interesting central conflict. You got these two major heroes on two major East Coast cities that are not that far apart from each other. And one handles business a certain way, the other a different. And you got Superman from Metropolis looking and saying, like, there's this person who's acting out of control next door in Gotham City, and this needs to be stopped. You know, and then, of course, you have Lex behind the scenes manipulating the situation. They do a good job setting up the central conflict. So you have to come up with that for these characters. Now, with Hulk versus Wolverine, I hate you, grr, let's fight. There's really, like... As long as you're not doing this idiotic Professor Hulk thing, what you got is a raging war machine in Hulk. So with a Wolverine Black Panther, although I don't hear anybody on the planet asking for that, you could do something like that, but I don't think a Wolverine versus Hulk movie, a Wolverine versus Hulk scene could be wonderful. A Wolverine versus Hulk movie would be very short, I think. All right, what's next?
The Borb says, this is a two-parter, hey John, theory. RDJ's Doom is from F4's universe. The events of that film, i.e. Galactus coming to Earth, causes him to want to build a suit of armor around the world and hate the F4. Now, the incursion Doctor Strange caused is with F4's universe. This makes Doom view the 616 universe as a threat. He comes to the main timeline to destroy it for trying to destroy his universe.
Okay, I'll tell you what, the Warp, there's many things about that I love. Because remember, what did Robert Downey Jr. say at Comic-Con after they introduced him? He said, new mask, same task. Well, what's that task? The task is, we believe, we don't know if this is true, but it seems logical, build a suit of armor around the world. That ultimately, look, the Marvel villains that are the best are the ones that think themselves the hero. I would almost say the villains that are the best in almost all of fiction, not all the time, but most of the time, a lot of time, are the ones who actually see themselves as the hero. Like Thanos. Now you get some great villains that are just there for the chaos, right? Killmonger. Joker. Heath Ledger's Joker. Right? There are those two. But then you get like Chiwetel Ejiofor's The Operative in Serenity. Or you get a Thanos. That's the thing that makes them truly terrifying, because they think that what they're doing is right. You get a Doctor Doom from a reality that gets overcome by a Galactus. So you introduce Galactus in Fantastic Four. That sets you up later for Doctor Doom saying I don't think it'll be from the same reality as the Fantastic Fours. But you introduce Galactus there. Now you've got the groundwork for when they do bring in Doom to say from his world, he had to watch as Galactus came and ended it all. And there was nothing that he could do. And now he's on this quest to like unify all the worlds and save the worlds. He's going to create Battle World and all that kind of, because what he thinks what he's doing is right. He's also a maniacal genius and totally bent on domination and power. Yes, but also with the added benefit of thinking that he's actually right. That could be terrifying, and it could be a really cool way for them to approach it. All right. What's next?
All right. Imagine, Rob Buck says, imagine, John, the post-credits scene of Captain 4, Sam is led down a hallway to meet the new director of S.H.I.E.L.D. Out from the shadows steps RDJ. So, Cap, I need to talk to you about the Avenger Initiative. With ominous music playing, immediate chills from me.
I don't understand. What, so you're saying Doctor Doom is the new Nick Shield? Remember, the 616's Tony is dead. So, unless you're suggesting that Cap 4 is taking place in another universe, which is a theory that's been around for a while. There has been a theory around for a while that never confirmed by anybody or anything, but there has been a theory for a long time that a lot of the different Marvel movies have not been taking place in the 616. That Shang-Chi didn't happen in the 616, although that seems to be, you know, overwritten by the fact of its post-credit scene. And, you know, there was a thought that Eternals didn't take place in the 616, which is why you never saw any reference to Arishem or Tiamat coming out of the ocean. But that's been overwritten now by the trailer that we saw in Captain America 4. So I'm not really sure that's the way they would go. Not sure that's the way they would go. All right. Thanks for that, Rob. What's next?
All right. Your name says, when Jamie Lee Curtis posted a public apology to Kevin Feige for her past criticisms on Twitter/X, Ryan Reynolds posted the following. Wait, is everyone expected to apologize for slamming Marvel post Endgame? That's classic.
Okay, so for those of you who didn't, that was hilarious, by the way, because what basically happened was at Comic-Con, Jamie Lee Curtis was being interviewed with some of her castmates for Borderlands. And I can't remember what the nature of the question was, but the interviewer asked a question and it's like, what phase is Marvel on now? And Jamie Lee Curtis said, awful. Or something like that. Right? Now, just days later, Jamie Lee Curtis came out and said, look, that was a stupid thing for me to say. That is not my place to say that. I'm not in the position as a creative to tear down other creatives' work. That is not what I should have said. I'm totally wrong for saying that. I'm going to keep my mouth shut, blah, 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 blah. It was in response to that statement that Ryan Reynolds said, wait, because he put this up on his social media. Are we expected to apologize for slamming Marvel stuff after Endgame? One of the best lines, truly, not my favorite, but truly one of the best lines in Deadpool and Wolverine is when he turns to Wolverine and says, welcome to the MCU, by the way. You're kind of joining at a low point. Mm-hmm. It was one of the best moments in the movie, and obviously a little bit of a callback to that. All right, what's next?
Sam Fisher says, John, have you been keeping up with the comics? Fantastic Four, number 22, revealed Doctor Doom is the new Sorcerer Supreme, which can only be bad. Ultimate Spider-Man number 7 seems to have introduced what will likely become Venom, an AI modeled after Peter's brain.
I have not kept up with a lot of comics in the last couple of years, to be really honest with you. There have been a couple of DC titles I've picked up. I haven't picked up a lot of the Marvel titles, to be honest with you, in the last number of years. So I'm not familiar with any of that. Now, the last one I was reading from Marvel was actually the what's the Spider-Man one they did where Peter's an adult and then finds out that things were changed and he was meant to be Spider-Man. I'm trying to remember the name of that storyline. And I can't remember now. Anyway, but other than that, I really haven't read a lot, so I'm not familiar with any of this stuff, but it's always interesting. Ultimate Spider-Man, says Calvin Patel. So I haven't really been keeping up with any of the other stuff, though, to be honest with you. But that sounds interesting. All right, what's next?
All right, Sam Fisher says, if you rewatch Iron Man 1, the Mark I Iron Man mask looks very different than the other Iron Man mask. It's almost Dr. Doom-like. I can 100% see the Doom mask looking like the MK, the Iron Man mask more than the other, and I think that would be awesome.
I don't agree. Look, the reason that the Mark I mask, which was cobbled together with scrap metal in a cave, looks so different than the other Iron Man masks is because after that first thing he built in the cave, he actually got home to his workshop and he was actually able to sit down and with computers design and actually make something, right? Other than the fact that it's steel, I honestly don't think I've heard other people, Sam, say this too, but I've looked at this like, I don't think the Mark 1 mask looks anything like the Doctor Doom mask, other than the fact that it's got that metallic color to it. But I just don't see it. He built it from a box of scraps. I mean, so yeah, that's just my take on it. But hey, listen, Sam, they could do something creative and kind of connect those things. All right, what's next?
Cyclone says, and thank you for the $20.
Thank
Very generous.
you, Cyclone, for supporting us in that level, man. Appreciate that.
All right, John, finally finished the 5-hour odyssey that was the Deadpool spoiler review. Not complaining. Big fan of the show. You're all great. Also, watch movie trailers, A Love Story. I really enjoyed it. Sequel ideal. Movie posters. Oh, how I missed though.
Oh man, thank you so much for those of you who, I'm sure there's probably some of you still don't know. I made a movie a little while ago, coming out of the pandemic, called Movie Trailers, A Love Story, which is basically a documentary about the history, development of, and the current role of movie trailers. You can find it on Amazon Prime. Go search for it. Movie Trailers, A Love Story. Anyway, I had a lot of people asking me to do a sequel about movie posters. I did some initial research. I just couldn't find a story to tell. Like the way we found our story, we found the storyline and the story thread for Movie Trailers, A Love Story, but I could never really find a story for movie posters. Now I probably will do another documentary as a producer, not as a director, but as a producer. I've got a couple of things that I'm looking at right now, but I thank you so much, Cyclone. Number one, for supporting us in that level with that tip, and for checking out my movie. I really appreciate it, man. Thank you very much, and for the kind words. All right, what's next?
All right. Twilight Boy says,
Twilight Boy.
my theory is Doom already conquered his universe. The one F4 is explaining why they come to the MCU too, and is now looking to take other universes. First step is to wipe out the Kangs. That could be Doomsday big Infinity War type opening. The Kangs, also being weakened by the TVA hunting them, would explain why they would get schooled. The TVA would then have to turn their attention to Doom, and they begin recruiting Deadpool, Maguire, Jackman, etc. to help the 616 heroes stop him.
No, I don't see them going in that direction at all. Number one, Doctor Doom's not a major character in Fantastic Four. So Doctor Doom taking over their world and them fleeing their world for the 616 because of Doctor Doom, that's highly improbable. Also, they're taking the Kangs. The end of Loki season 2 ends the Kang storyline, right? It's wrapped up. The TVA is now just going around picking off the final number of Kangs. Kang was never really established as that big of a threat anyway, so having Doom taking out some Kangs really wouldn't mean much to us. So I love the creative thinking, Twilight Boy. I do, but I really don't see them going in this direction at all. Again, it's possible. I could be wrong. But since you're asking me, I'll just say, yeah, I don't see them doing that. All right. What's next?
All right. Sam Fisher says, I think and really hope RDJ plays Doom like Admiral Strauss. Admiral Strauss. Because who is Doom? A genius but arrogant son of a bitch who, after being insulted and upstaged by Reed once, decided to enact a plan to completely ruin Reed's life, just like Strauss did to Oppenheimer.
No, I see those as very different characters. While Doom has a massive ego and an incredibly elevated sense of self, Strauss in Oppenheimer has massive insecurities and is actually quite fragile, which leads him to doing the things that he does. I don't see Victor Von Doom being portrayed like that at all. I think I see him being portrayed in a very, very, very different way. Now, if Kevin Feige decided to get creative and to cast, why am I suddenly freezing on his name? Cillian Murphy as another universe's Tony Stark, and then you had Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom, and then you have your Strauss Oppenheimer confrontation again. That would be pretty fun. Obviously they won't. That's too novel, but I mean, other than that, yeah, I just don't see Doom and Strauss as being very similar at all, to be honest. All right, what's next?
Amin says, I know it's been a busy week with Comic-Con and everything, but did you see the new full trailer to season 2 of Rings of Power? Man, this new season looks epic and much bigger in scale. Hopefully the story improves. Been loving the marketing so far for season 2.
Okay, I had people all week last week saying, John, did you see the new trailer for Rings of Power? And I never did. The reason I never did is because as excited as I was for Rings of Power season 1, I was disappointed in it. I didn't think it was terrible like some people thought it was awful. I didn't think it was awful, but I was disappointed. And so even though I knew there was a new trailer out there for it that came out of Comic-Con, I didn't go out of my way to go and find it and watch it. So last night I was going through YouTube and I came across it and I'm like, oh, I might as well watch this. Whatever, I'll watch it. Oh my God, have you guys seen it?
No.
Nope. I saw a little preview of it. I just forgot to play it.
I had no interest in watching it. Even the trailer.
Well, I already knew I was going to watch the next season anyway. It's Lord of the Rings, so.
I'm not sure I was going to watch the next season of Lord of the Rings.
Why? You just...
Because the first season just
Yeah,
disappointed me,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. I would have probably watched the new season anyway, at least given the first few episodes a shot.
Yeah.
Okay, look. I don't know if this season's going to be awful or great. No idea. The trailer is unbelievably fantastic.
Yeah.
It's one of the best trailers I've seen all year to anything. Like movies or TV show. Again, I'm not saying that means the season's going to be good. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just talking about the trailer. So all week I've had all these people telling me, John, you got to see the trailer. And I'm like, yeah. Finally watched it last night. Blew me away. Okay. It was so good. So good. For the first time since the first season ended, I found myself going, I can't wait to watch this. And again, I don't know if it's going to be good or bad. No idea. But the trailer was unbelievable. If you guys haven't seen the trailer, listen to everybody who was telling me to go watch it. I mean, again, it doesn't mean that the season's going to be good. Who knows? But the trailer is damn good. All right, what's next?
Isaac Benson says, hey, John, I had an idea for how to handle Deadpool in the PG-13 films. What if he comes in and makes a point that he only has one F word? He spends the whole movie saving it for the perfect moment, and then someone else gets it off before him. Thoughts?
Someone else kind of suggested that. I mean, ultimately, this isn't really how to handle Deadpool. This is a quick 2-second moment of him. Nah, look, the audience is going to want to hear Deadpool drop a massive F-bomb in some creative flurry of words. So, and yeah, to have another character say it, I mean, that could be funny, but I don't think that would override how much the audience would want to hear Deadpool be the one to drop it. You know what I'm saying? So they could, I suppose, but I don't think they'll do that. It would be, I think it would be a massive missed opportunity if they decided to go that way. All right, what's next?
Drew Gretsch says, "Ooh, hi, John. Hope you're feeling better. Saw Trap last night with some friends, and I thought it was good, but not great. Definitely a good time at the movies, though. Also, my girlfriend loved Deadpool 3, seeing it for a 6th time on Friday with my dad."
I am still stuck on 3. Still stuck on just 3 because I got sick. So I've been like laid up in bed for the last 4 days. So I have not seen. Hopefully, I'll get caught up with at least 2 more screenings this week. My wife went to Disneyland yesterday. Fuck that place, by the way. My wife went to Disneyland, came back with a head pool thing, the floating head one, the zombie head. She came back with the head pool popcorn bucket for me, which is awesome. I'm probably going to hang it from the ceiling so it's like floating behind me or something. I'm going to see if I can do that. So hopefully I'll be able to get that in. Yeah, I'm not hearing great things about Trap, unfortunately, but I'm still looking forward to checking it out myself. Glad you had a good time with it, Drew. All right, what's next?
All right. iFar Ted says, People think our Doomjay will be confusing, but Marvel has had one actor as two characters before. John Krasinski played a Reed Richards variant in Doctor Strange 2, but also Jimmy Woo in Ant-Man 2 and WandaVision, and nobody even blinked.
That, of course, goes back to the old Asian Jim joke with Park. What's his name?
Randall Park.
Randall Park. By the way, Randall Park is a treasure. Why Marvel has not done more with Randall Park is completely beyond me. That dude needs to be in more stuff. But yeah, that, by the way, if any of you didn't see the commercial for where Randall Park did the John Krasinski, like it's Randall Park student says John Krasinski, writer director of If. It's like, it's such a great Office throwback. I loved it. So well done, IFR. Well done. All right, what's next?
Benji Worldwide says, yo, just watched an interview with Michael C. Hall about New Dexter. Not only is he narrating the prequel, but he's starring in a sequel to New Blood. I love the original Dexter show, but New Blood was meh. Don't know how to feel about this news. Semi-excited.
Zero.
Excitement.
I am a passionate fan of Dexter.
Yeah.
Love that series. I even love the final season. Not the final episode, but I love the final season overall, just not the last episode. I got all excited for New Blood. Totally let me down. So, I have no enthusiasm and no excitement for anything else they're going to do. Now, I can have my mind change once it comes out. If a bunch of people write me and say it's actually excellent, I'll probably hop on, give it a try. But until that happens, Benny G, I'd be lying to you if I told you I had any enthusiasm for it, because I just don't. All right, what's next?
All right, Garden Variety Vagabond says, this is a two-parter. We few, we happy few, we band of brothers. For he today that sheds his blood with me shall be my brother. Be he ne'er so vile, this day shall gentle his condition, and gentlemen in England, now abed, shall think themselves accursed. They were not here. And gentlemen in England, now abed, shall think, okay, we're not here, and hold their manhoods cheap, whiles any speaks that fought with us upon St. Crispin's Day. Kenneth Branagh was amazing in this speech.
If we are marked to die, we are now to do our country loss, and if to live. The fewer men, the greater the share of honor. God's will, I pray thee, wish not one man more. Henry V is awesome. Henry V is great. And Kenneth Branagh, that whole speech, we few, we happy few. It's like, it's such a good thing. It's probably, I watched that as a kid. And it's the thing that made me like a lifelong Kenneth Branagh fan. Was it? I love it. It's so good. And big bonus points to you, Garden Variety, for bringing it in there. Absolutely love it. All right. What's next?
All right. Matan Valensky says, the marketing around the Book of Bill seems to tease a Gravity Falls revival, and talks with the creator Alex Hirsch are confirmed by a Disney exec. Maybe it could mean an announcement in D23. Probably someone's already recommended you to the series.
I'll be honest with you, Matan. I've never so much as seen a clip from Gravity Falls. I've heard about it. I've heard it mentioned a few times. I've never even heard of Book of Bill. So this is something that's clear. I mean, I think Gravity Falls, if I understood it, lasted like 3 or 4 or more seasons. So it clearly had a degree of success. It's just not something I ever watched. It's not something I know anything about whatsoever.
From what I watched, I thought it was pretty.
You saw a little bit of it?
Yeah, I saw.
What's the basic idea?
Do you know? All I know is I like the banter between, because it's a brother and a sister. That's all I know. They're twins. That's it. But I love the banter in between them. It was like a random episode. I don't know how far into the season, but I always wanted to go and start it from season 1. I just haven't had the time.
All right. What's next?
All right. Matan Valensky says, I wonder if the Gravity Falls revival will go down the same growing up with the audience route as Fiona and Cake, which means Disney television animation will go PG-13 before Walt Disney Animation Studios and Pixar, which will be interesting to see.
I I have no idea what Fiona and Cake is. I have no idea what Gravity Falls is.
I have a question about the rating wise. Can we at least say something about that? What is he saying? That the Disney Kids is going to move up to like PG-13 stuff?
Well, that's what he's wondering, because I guess is Gravity Falls like a PG-13 thing?
Yeah.
So this is way outside my wheelhouse, to be honest with you.
Sorry, man.
Sorry about that. All right, what's next?
Willy Wonka says.
Oh, is it Dildar?
The Glorious. Do you have Dildar?
Oh, I see it. Dildar the Glorious says, saw D&W and it was amazing, but theaters really need to stop with how they do commercials. The screen didn't come on until the start time, and the commercials were 30 minutes. They really need to start 15 to 30 minutes before the actual start time.
You know, I've said all along, if you want to show 25 to 30 minutes of commercials, that includes trailers. Trailers are commercials. Then if the show time is 7, start playing the trailers at 6:30. Because I bought a ticket. I paid you money to be in my seat to watch a movie, not to watch 30 minutes of trailers. Just saying. All right, what's next?
All right. Willy Wonka says, recently watched an interview where Matt Damon mentioned that he thought the best way to accurately judge and give awards to movies would be 10 to 20 years after they came out. Thoughts?
Saw that interview too. Completely disagree. Yeah. Movies are experiential events. You gauge the experience. Now, your experience can change with it over time. But then what would you do after 10, 20 years? Okay, but now you say, you know what? It really should be after like 30 years. And because it'll always change. Because they're experiential events and we are always changing as people, our experience with movies will change as well as time goes on. So you can say, oh, we should really judge it in 5 years. No, really judge it in 10 years. No, really judge it in 20 years. No, you can't really judge it until it's 200 years old. No, you judge them based on the experience you had with it now, right? And then maybe your views of it shift a little bit later on, but no, the now is the time to think about and evaluate the movies that we see fresh in the experience that we've had with it. And could that change over time? Sure. But then once it changes over time, it could change even more if you gave it more time. So where do you end it, right? Where do you draw the finish line? So I appreciate and I understand what he was saying, but I just personally disagree with him. All right, what's next?
The Arbiter says, recently I've noticed at Regal they are mixing in ads and commercials in between trailers. I don't mind trailers before my film, but the commercials just completely distract me from the trailers. Plus it adds probably 10 minutes to the start time.
Yeah, they used to do this in Canada a lot. And I think, but look, trailers are commercials. Like, I hate to break it. I know we like to romanticize and pretend like there's something angelic and something different. Trailers are commercials. But that would drive me crazy too, right? To see a trailer, a Ford Escape commercial, Colgate toothpaste commercial, trailer, I don't know, some other commercial for something, whatever. Crazy Abdul's butt plugs galore. I don't know, like whatever your shop.
At the beginning of Inside Out too.
At the beginning of Inside Out.
That's perfect. Let's put it there.
That would be one they would have to answer for. So yeah, look, what they've got for the trailers and the commercials, they have what they call their 25 block or their 30 block, right? It's not like putting in extra commercials lengthened it. If they took out one or two of the commercials, they just added another trailer. They basically got to stop this nonsense about making us watch 30 minutes of advertisements before a movie starts. It's got to stop. All right, what's next?
All right. The Arbiter says, recently, Anonymous says, during work, have you, Sly, had the Olympics on in the background? I'm just about to watch the swimming. Later, it's athletics. The gymnastics have been brilliant. I have enjoyed it. What's been your fave moment so far?
Watching Team Canada go 3-0 in basketball. Undefeated. Do I think they're going to beat Team USA? No. But they're doing well. They're doing so good. American Girl won like 3 gold medals in the pool. Watching Simone Biles. Yeah. Woo! That's been inspirational, man.
Has to be the Philippines' first gold.
Philippines and the men's gymnastics?
Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter. It's just the Philippines got a gold medal. We actually even had a team of something. So
we had people. Wait a minute. We had people there?
Yeah.
That's been great. That photo finish men's 100-meter dash.
My
Did you see that, by the way?
Yeah, I saw it. That's
I thought
crazy.
the Jamaican guy won.
Yeah.
Jamaica still thinks the Jamaican guy won.
But then they showed the. I was like, oh my god, that
Yeah.
We
I've
had a
never seen
couple-
something that close.
We had a couple last second goals in other sports that won gold. For
Women's rugby. Did you
the
see
rugby, and then there was a women's thing that happened a last minute goal. It's been exciting, but the one I'm looking forward to is I think her name's McLaughlin. She's the 400-meter hurdles girl, and then of course all the men and women relays towards the end of the.
Do you see Djokovic won tennis against what's the young Spanish kid, the number one?
Oh
in the world guy?
yeah, he did. He was. I saw that. I saw a picture of
Alcarza
him.
or
He was completely emotional.
Oh,
I think.
he wept. It's only in the Olympics. It's only two. It's the best of 3, not the best of 5, and the match was still 2 hours and 50 minutes long.
Because this kid has been
He's the number one in the world.
yeah, he's been oh wow.
It was the classic, the best of all time versus the best right now, and the old man did
He
it.
was like, let me get this last one because I don't see him winning it.
Oh
next,
no.
next
but,
time. But
yeah, he's like, it has been a fabulous Olympics. I gotta say, it's been a great
It's been
Olympics.
And we had-
controversial. It's been a lot.
and also, do you notice the amount of competitions we have now? It feels like we had like maybe 1 or 2 extra channels where you could watch other things.
Oh, no,
now
Peacock's
we have
got it
6 and
everywhere.
7.
Yeah.
It's like badminton and then like mixed
NBC,
everything.
Peacock has got it all over. By the way, the other thing I caught last night, men's final in table tennis. This Swedish kid versus the world number 1, a Chinese player. I'm just watching these guys. Now
I
listen,
can't even see the ball.
listen.
I can't even see the thing.
I'm a jackass at almost everything I try, but I'll say right up, I am a very good ping pong player. I'm a very good table. I'm a very good table
All
tennis
right,
player.
come on.
I am.
I've never picked up a ping pong, but I bet you I'm going to be the best ever. That's what I
It's
say to
harder
myself.
than it looks.
No,
But
it is hard. It is hard.
I'm sitting down, and I'm watching these guys play, and it's like it's freaking mutant powers. The speed.
How do you hit it so hard and still get it on that small table?
I have
I
no
always
idea.
overhit it.
Like it was, like I've played a lot of
It's
table tennis in my
control,
life,
too.
but it's like I'm just watching them. Like how? Like these guys were phenomenal. And by the way, the Swedish kid won the gold medal. Congratulations to him. All right, sorry, we gotta keep going. What's next?
Grant says, "Hi John, my question is regarding cinema memberships. For the likes of AMC or Cineworld, where you can pay a monthly fee for unlimited films, do the free tickets affect box office totals, or does every seat booked still count as a sale? How does it work?"
Okay, we've explained this a couple of times on the show, but it bears repeating. So let's say you're using Regal Unlimited, or in my case, like AMC A-List. When you buy a movie ticket, let's say you go and you buy a $10 movie ticket. Okay. Generally speaking, 2/3 of that goes back to the studio. So let's say $7. That AMC now has to send $7 back to the studios and to the distributor. I'm oversimplifying this just for so if you buy a $20 ticket, they're going to send $14 of that back to the distributor, right? The way it works with A-List, when I buy a ticket with A-List, I reserve a ticket with A-List, AMC counts that as one movie ticket purchase, and it's valued at the national average ticket price. Ray, can you look up quickly national average movie ticket price? Because it changes year by year. I'm going to go out on a limb and guess $12 is the national average. So, because sometimes you'll buy a $5.
It's $10.78.
How much?
Well, the last one was in 2023. The average ticket price was $10.78.
$10. So we'll say $11.
Right.
So that includes like a bunch of $5 matinees, the more expensive ones. So on average, and in some towns and cities in the US, it's a lot less expensive. So let's say an $11 is the national average. When I buy a ticket with my AMC A-List, AMC registers that as the national average ticket price. So they book it as an $11 purchase. Even though I didn't give them $11, AMC counts that and books that as an $11 movie ticket purchase. So AMC now has to send back to the distributor about $7.50. So every time I use my A-list, AMC's got to send the distributors of that movie $7.50 or whatever, however high or low that national average adjusted price goes. So yes, it absolutely counts towards the box office, 100%. So if I go to see Deadpool 5 times using AMC A-list, it will count towards the box office as, what did I say, 5 times? It'll count as $55 worth of movie tickets that I bought. Hope that helps.
Yep.
All right, what's next?
David says, "Hey John, I'm seeing Return of the King live with the Cleveland Orchestra this weekend. Return of the King is my favorite movie of all time and has my favorite score of all time. So I'm uber pumped. I feel blessed to be near one of the best orchestras."
I absolutely love going to see movies in concert with an orchestra, with the movie playing on the screen and a full orchestra playing live with it. I go to see it. I go to see them all the time at the Hollywood Bowl. I love them. It's such a great way to re-experience a movie that you love. It's powerful and it's moving, and I love that you're getting that experience with it. All right, guys, listen, we got through an awful lot of these questions, actually, but as I warned you up top, we have run out of time. For all those of you who had sent in questions that we didn't get around to, do not worry. We'll easily get all caught up tomorrow. So if you didn't see your question answered yet today, don't worry. It'll be coming tomorrow. And guys, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here, making our little show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in the questions. Number one, because you gave us fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it, and all of us involved with the show. Thank you guys so very much for your support. I want to thank the people in the room with me, Ray Ora.
See you guys tomorrow.
Paris Rose.
Bye.
My name's John Campea. Thanks a lot for being here, guys. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.